China's foreign minister has arrived in the Philippines. The visit is aimed at strengthening bilateral ties. The timing of the visit is interesting. The Philippines is currently conducting its largest ever joint military exercises with the United States. Both China and the U.S. are vying to increase influence over the Southeast Asian nation. Chinese Minister Qin Gang landed in capital Manila on Friday. He is scheduled to meet President Ferdinand Marcos later today. He will also be holding talks with his Philippine counterpart. China's Department of Foreign Affairs says that regional security issues of mutual concern will be part of the discussions. Talks on strengthening cooperation in agriculture, trade, energy are among others which will be expected in the agenda. Experts say that Qin's visit has come at a crucial time as Manila has been moving closer to Washington. Moreover, both nations have long-standing differences due to disputes in the South China Sea. Beijing claims almost the entire waterway as part of its territory. It has deployed hundreds of vessels to patrol the waters and occupy reefs. This has been strongly condemned by the Philippines and other nations near the South China Sea. U.S. too is opposed to China's claims. Since last year, ties between Washington and Manila have grown significantly. In fact, President Marcos is set to meet his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden next month. The two nations in recent months have agreed to restart joint maritime patrols on the South China Sea. U.S. is even allowed to increase the presence of its troops in the country. Philippines shares a close proximity with Taiwan and its surrounding waters. Forging a partnership will allow the U.S. to make Philippines a key partner in event of a conflict with China. Now, Beijing is trying to reinstate friendly relations with Manila, which it had enjoyed when Rodrigo Duterte was in power. China Foreign Ministry says that Qin's visit builds upon the visit of Philippines President to China in January. He and his counterpart Xi Jinping had agreed on a friendly handling of disputes. The Philippines has been delicately balancing relations with China and the United States. Don McLean Gill is the director for South and Southeast Asia at the Philippines Middle East Studies Association. He is now joining us live from Manila. Don, welcome to the program. Critics say that China's forays to the Philippines are not really bent on bettering relations, but it's all about the South China Sea energy deal. What do you make of that statement and Qin Gang's visit?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It is a true pleasure to be here. Now, the question is absolutely right. And, one of the key aspects, as you have just rightfully mentioned earlier, is timing. The visit comes after a series of significant milestones achieved under the strengthened alliance between Manila and Washington. So for China, this is worrisome, given the possible implications of a larger presence of the United States in Southeast Asia and what its implications are for the security of Taiwan. So, additionally, President Marcos will also be meeting President Biden on May 1. So this may directly or indirectly figure in the discussions between the foreign minister of China and, of course, his Filipino counterparts. So what we're really looking into now is China's willingness, or at least its intent, to de-escalate the situation with Manila and, of course, to alleviate the situation for the betterment of relations and its interests. But, of course, as we can see, there has always been a great inconsistency with what Beijing says at the political level and what it does at the practical level.
Don, according to some analysts, the strengthening of U.S.-Philippines ties should focus on the South China Sea and not overreach on Taiwan. Do you think the U.S. is going too far with this alliance with the Philippines?
Well, we have to understand that in terms of Manila, the aspect of foreign policy that we have right now, Manila has emphasized that it is willing to, of course, maintain open channels of communication with China in order to emphasize that it is necessary for both states to manage relations. But this does not mean that Manila will sit idly and allow China to really compromise its sovereignty and sovereign rights because of its assertive regional ambitions. So this is why any rational state would do. We have leveraged on our traditional alliance with our traditional security partner because no other country comes close in terms of providing security and, of course, collaborating in security. But at the same time, we have to understand that the alliance will not be the end for Manila, but rather a means to the end. So this means that the alliance would serve as a significant stepping stone for Manila to solidify and enhance its territorial defense capabilities, fast-track its military modernization program, and enhance its defense alliance, its defense networks. But this does not mean that Manila will engage in bloc politics or alliance politics in the context of the U.S.-China power competition. This was made clear when the National Security Council of the Philippines stated that we do not wish to meddle into the affairs of Taiwan. We will remain proactive, but however, we will continue to engage strategically with the United States and deepen our cooperation in areas of mutual concern and interest.
All right, I'm just curious, and I'm sure some of our viewers are, what's the foreseeable outcome of Qin Gang's visit and his meeting with President Marcos?
Well, you know, as I have mentioned earlier, you know, when President Marcos took the reins of national power of the Philippines in 2022, he emphasized that he seeks to manage relations with China. The January visit of President Marcos to China, to Beijing, and to meet President Xi Jinping served as a significant reflection of Manila's intent to stabilize relations. But what has happened just weeks after the meeting, China again began its provocative maneuvers within Philippine waters. So this is the problem that we have. Manila has often and has always passed the ball to China's court. The ball is in China's court. Now it will depend on China whether it is willing enough to let go of its egoistic strategic ambitions for the region, to prioritize being a better neighbor towards its immediate neighbor, the Philippines. So this will all now depend on the ability of China to prioritize, you know, whether it seeks to maintain friendly relations with its neighbors or will it seek to choose its provocative, egoistic foreign policy approaches. Now, because the problem here is that under President Xi Jinping, China's foreign policy is catered towards harnessing nationalist sentiments at home, to, of course, to maintain the power, the seat of power domestically. Now, what this leads to is, of course, a limited maneuvering for diplomacy and peaceful negotiations because of fears that the current government of China will seem weak at home. So this is what we're seeing now. You know, this is why there is a discrepancy between political statements and what it does practically on the ground. So hopefully, this will serve as a wake-up call that Manila is continuously interested in negotiating and being a better neighbor, or rather to have a more conducive atmosphere with China. But now it still depends on China whether it seeks to prioritize that or still pursue its narrowly driven ambitions for the region.
All right, we'll have to end this discussion here. I've been talking to the Director of South and Southeast Asia at the Philippines Middle East Studies Association. Thank you, Don McLean-Gill, for talking to WION World is One today.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.